So welcome to the number 11 class of the Classic Soup series. Yours truly, Chef Des, is bringing you broccoli and cheddar soup. It's going to be a great class. This is a very classic soup, a favorite amongst everybody, and this is my take on it. I really hope you enjoy it tonight. Before we get started, I want to remind you, this year marks my 20th anniversary in business, 20 years of Chef Des, and we'll do some fun things for the 20th anniversary, and I'm really excited for you guys to share that with me this year. Go to chefdes.com and click on there and keep refreshing your screen or whatever. The recipe we're doing tonight, broccoli cheddar soup, is brand new, and it's not in either of these books, folks, none. So hang on to it. It'll be launched in my next book, which I predict will be out by about December 2023. We'll see how it goes. And as you know, I put my heart and soul into what I do and make sure that my recipes are top notch and the instructions on the recipes are easy to understand. The ingredients are not crazy ingredients. And also I really trying to make sure that my ingredient list is in the same order as the instructions below. As you know, this is all important stuff. I was doing a recipe recently for a client, and man, there was things all over the place, and you got to the instructions and it was so confusing. And man, I've been cooking professionally for so many years and I had trouble with that recipe. Imagine somebody else trying to make it. It's just nuts what people are thinking. They're just not thorough. And I'm a real stickler for that. So I hope you guys appreciate that and appreciate the work that I do in the recipes. I'm really glad you're here with me tonight. We're gonna have a great class. Let's get started, shall we? So broccoli cheddar soup, and we're gonna go through everything together, get it all set up before we even turn on the burner. I'm gonna take my 4 tablespoons of butter. You should have the same. I'm gonna put it over by the stovetop. So we're gonna jump around a little bit in the prep, but that's okay. We're just gonna have everything in order when we get it to the countertop there, once we've prepped it. And if you look at the first thing in our prep list, the 1 cup of small diced broccoli stems. However, you look farther on down the recipe, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th from the bottom, it says 4 cups of chopped bite-sized broccoli florets. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab the broccoli, we're going to do our 4 cups of bite-sized florets, then we'll have the stems left over that we will chop into small little dice, and then we will measure that first thing we're prepping together, which is the 1 cup small diced broccoli stems. Is this as clear as mud? You guys know where I'm going with this? Okay. So let's grab some broccoli. So we're going to do our bite-sized florets first. Get a 4 cup measure standing by, would be easiest if you have one. Then we'll be left with the stems to do our small dice broccoli stems. This is a 1 full crown. Cut it in half so it can sit nice and flat on your board. And I try and cut off the stem as close to the florets as I can without cutting off any florets. And pieces are going to start falling off. We just want little tiny bite-sized florets, no stem. What I do now, since I've taken off that big stem, I'll have bits like this, okay, with still more stem and just more florets. So I do the same procedure, take my knife and I cut up close to the florets. If you have this one here where it's kind of hard to cut the stem, what I do is I start cutting it apart, okay, so I can see more of the stem and then cut the stem off. Do the same thing with this bit here until I've worked through that whole half of a crown. By doing that, it's going to start falling apart, look at, in these little bite-sized pieces. And as long as it's bite-sized, go ahead, take in your 4 cup measure and start filling your 4 cup measure. Keep doing that until we have our 4 cup measure filled up. Okay, so that's your 4 cups of florets. And what we're doing for the stems is 1 full cup of small diced broccoli stems. If they're not cut small enough, they're not going to be cooked in time. You're going to go to puree and they're not going to puree very well. And you're going to have this grainy texture through your soup. We don't want that. I go through and I make 1/4 inch slices of the stem. Once you've done that, go through and make 1/4 inch strips and make 1/4 inch dice now by lining them up this way. Watch your fingertips and make some small dice of your stem and start filling our 1 cup measure. I have my 1 cup of small diced stems. I'm going to add that to that prep bowl. Next thing on our prep list is our onion. Are we doing our onion next? We don't do the onion next. If you are prepping an onion, do it last, because look at all that juice on my board right there. If you do it first, like it says in the recipe, then what happens is that onion juices stay on your board as you're prepping your carrot, your celery, and you're crying because all those fumes are going to your eyes, right? Do your onion last. Unless you're prepping raw meat in the recipe, then do the raw meat last and the onion second to last. So you don't run that risk of crying all the way through your prep, okay? And we're going to move on to the carrot. We're going to make this carrot a little easier to approach by cutting into 3, cut it in half, so they can sit nice and flat on the board like that, okay? Then what we're gonna do, same process as our broccoli stems, we're going to cut 1/4-inch slices, take those slices and make 1/4-inch strips and line up those strips and make small dice. The smaller you can do it, especially for a hard carrot, the easier it's going to be to puree. Okay, remember, this is going in the beginning. It needs to be soft before we can puree, folks. You might be wondering, hey, you know what, Des, we're making broccoli cheddar soup, man. What are you doing with all those carrots, celery, onion, garlic? Come on, there's more prep. Hey, you know what? We're trying to create depth of flavor. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this the best broccoli cheddar soup you ever put in your mouth. And you're not going to do that by putting on a pot of water, adding some broccoli and sprinkling some cheese. It's going to taste like crap. It really will. So make sure that if you're going to go through the effort of cooking anyway, make something fantastic. So I added my carrots to my 1 cup of broccoli stems, small dice. And now we're gonna cut our celery. And once we cut our celery, it's gonna go in this bowl here as well. So 1 large celery stalk. I mean, this thing's bigger than my head. Look at that. Cut it in 3 so it's easier to just work like the curvature of the celery. If you do it thin, you already have 1/4-inch strips. Look at this. Line them all up. This is real time saver here. And just small dice all of those strips all at once if you can. I want you to smell that. Put your nose in there. Ah, oh, it's so good. Add that to our prep bowl. 3 cloves of garlic. And again, that's going to be prepped in this prep bowl. Cut off that little hard bit, okay, on each of the 3 cloves. Line them all up again, smack it with the knife. 1, 2, 3. And that skin just falls right off. And then it's just chopped. Hey, if you want to run this through your garlic press, go ahead and do that. You're not going to hurt my feelings. And put it in there. Dice an onion properly, Chef Des way. Okay, so we have the stem bit. See that stem bit? We don't want that. Over on the other side, we got that big hairy bit. No, I'm not talking about my face. Right over here, that big hairy bit. So we're going to cut off both of those bits. We don't want those bits, so cut them off. Get rid of them. See you later, bits. All right, get rid of them. There we go. Cut it in half, peel it, and then put the onion halves on your board. Parallel to these cuts, top and bottom, we're gonna make small slices, like 1/4-inch slices. Hold the slice so it stays in place. Every time you make a slice, hold it there so it maintains that nice half onion shape. And again, with this one, hold the slice, hold it, so it maintains that half onion shape, because what we're going to do now is turn it and we're going to work that curvature of the onion. Because an onion has layers, you're going to create small dice. Watch this. Cut it small all the way through, getting to the top now. Once you reach this part where it's more vertical than horizontal, what I want you to do is just knock it over so it stays nice and flat right down to the last cut, and you have small diced onion. All right, and that's going in our prep bowl with the carrots, celery, garlic, and broccoli stems. As I mentioned in the recipe, if you're going to make broccoli cheddar soup, you want it to taste like broccoli, and you want it to taste like what? You want it to taste like cheddar. So buy the best cheddar that you can afford for this recipe. And that's why I put in there 280 grams. You might be thinking 280 grams, like how many cups is that? I don't care how many cups that is. And this one's not over the top. It's like $7 or something, but look at this. It's exactly 280 grams. Balderson cheese. Great cheese, great flavor in this soup. You're gonna absolutely love it. It's just a recommendation, but whatever cheese you can, that's really, really good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grate mine separately on a plate, and then I have a 1 cup ramekin standing by, because you notice in the recipe it says separated. So we want to separate 1 cup and reserve that 1 cup for garnishing at the end. In the meantime, we're gonna take this cheddar and we're going to grate it. My cheese is done. So again, what I'm doing is I'm stealing 1 cup of it, not like packed. We just grated it so it's separate. Just fill a 1 cup measurement, and we'll put this over by the soup pot. So to this prep bowl that we did for the broccoli stems, the onion, the carrot, the celery, and the garlic, we're going to add the next 3 ingredients to this bowl. We're going to add our 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 2 teaspoons, level teaspoons of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper is going in that bowl. I'm going to put that by my soup pot as well. So we have the butter there. We have this prep bowl. After that, I want you to place it by the stovetop, your 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Get that standing by. 2 cups of chicken broth. Let's put that by the soup pot as well. We need 2 cups of light cream, but we need to keep it cold. So all I'm going to do right now, I'm going to keep it in the fridge, and I'm going to put this 2 cup measure there to remind me. Then we need, at that point, again, we're just lining up ingredients on the counter, our 4 cups of bite-sized broccoli florets. Then we need the cheese, which I have over there, and I reserved the 1 cup for garnish along with my parsley. Then we need 1 teaspoon of sugar standing by, which I have here, and salt and pepper to taste. So I have a little salt, a little pepper. So over here, there's my bowl I'm going to portion into with my ladle, my parsley, and my grated cheese for the garnish. Over here, I have my soup pot. Then beyond that, I have my immersion hand blender, and then all the ingredients standing by in order, right down to the last salt and pepper. All right, here we go. Medium heat, 4 tablespoons of butter. You add that in there. Once that butter foams in the pot, then we're going to add that big prep bowl of ingredients that we prepped. It's melted, it's foaming. It's telling you the pot is hot. We're ready now. Look at that, hear that sizzle when you put it in. You can give it a good stir, get it fully coated with the paprika and the salt. The salt is really important at this part to help extract the juices from the vegetables. Put a lid on it. Cook for 2 to 3 minutes until the vegetables are somewhat soft. The cold cream, what we're doing is we want to make sure, well, in this recipe, I got some requests that, hey, can you give us a recipe that's not full fat whipping cream? You know how I like to do that, right? Add the full fat whipping cream to it. So in light of January and everybody has New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, I decided to make this recipe with only 10% milk fat instead of the 33 to 35% milk fat whipping cream. However, there's a risk you take by doing that. Because it's lower milk fat, you have a greater chance of it breaking and separating in your soup. So by keeping it cold, that's going to help it from not getting too hot, too fast, okay? By keeping our heat on medium the whole time until it comes to a boil, then we're going to turn it down to low, will help us not create some extreme heat, which will also help us not to separate the soup. So we have a more healthy soup, still has some fat, still has some creaminess, which I think is, you need that. Nobody wants to have a broccoli cheddar soup that's just water and chicken stock. Nobody does, right? So you still have the richness, but we're cutting down on 25% of the fat, right? So you give and take a little bit, but you have to follow a few rules if you make that kind of adjustment in a recipe. Look at that steam coming off there. Oh man, this smells so good already. If you lifted up your lid, however, and you didn't have a blast of steam in that 3-minute time frame, it means your heat's too low. Okay, you need to bump up your heat. So you're cooking these vegetables a little bit more vigorously, all right? I'm gonna stir in that 1/4 cup of flour. We're gonna stir that in. We wanna stir it occasionally. We're going for another 2 to 3 minutes. We need to cook out the starchy taste of the flour. We need some thickening power of the soup. So we are going with the flour to do that. Now you're gonna be noticing this in the bottom of your pot, especially if you're using a stainless steel. Look at this stuff stuck on the bottom. As long as it's not burning, which is not, okay, if it's burning, you need a better pot or your heat's up too high. It's going to start sticking on the bottom. Don't worry about that. That's all good. That's just flavor there, folks. And what we're going to do when we add the chicken stock to that, that's going to start deglazing that fond off of there. We're just adding it slowly because of the flour in there. It's going to start thickening up really, really fast. Although the one thing I wanted to tell you as well, while we were cooking that flour, the reason why we had to keep stirring it occasionally is because we wanted to make sure that all the flour got a chance to be at the bottom of the pot to fully cook it, right? It was caught up in all those vegetables. If you just stirred it once and then let it cook for the for the 2 to 3 minutes without stirring it at all, then you're not going to cook all the flour, right? All the flour particles, right? You have to cook it all. All my chicken stock has been added. Keep it on medium heat. Keep making the recipe. We're going to add 2 cups of the Cremo, 10% milk fat, half and half, whatever you want to call it. It's all good. I added the cream. And right away, we need to puree this thing, okay? So we're keeping it on medium heat. So get your hand immersion blender. We're gonna puree the heck out of this thing, okay? So slower speed, don't lift it up as it's pureeing. You're gonna splatter everywhere and just puree it as smooth as you possibly can, okay? Make sure you're getting all the areas. You're scraping down the side of the pot. Fantastic. My all-clad immersion blender, this is what I like the most of it. Look at this. Take it apart, and I have 2 bits. I put this bit in the sink. This bit can stay on the counter that has the electrical cord attached to it. Okay, so we're adding the broccoli florets, the 4 cups of bite-sized florets, and cook for 4 to 5 minutes, stirring occasionally until the broccoli is cooked but still has some texture. The mixture should just come to a boil in this time frame. So remember, we added the flour, right? Full thickening power of starch thickeners happens when it's at a full boil. However, in this recipe, we're using 10% milk fat cream. So we don't want to crank the heat up to high to get this to a boil faster. No, 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 don't do that. You run a risk of curdling that cream. And we're going to slowly bring this up to a boil. The benefit of that is by the time that reaches a boil, which should be in about 4 to 5 minutes, the broccoli will be cooked. I like my broccoli soup, the broccoli florets, with a little bit of texture. I don't like them completely mushed, like they've been boiled or something. What I want you to do, if you don't like the texture of the broccoli, you want it more soft, then I want you to turn your heat down to low and just simmer it for as long as you have to on low until that broccoli is the texture you want, okay? Then you move on to the next step. Stir it occasionally just to redistribute the heat. So once you're at that mark, folks, when it's come to a boil over medium heat, you didn't crank it. See how it's starting to boil now? At this point here, we need to turn down the heat to low. Reserve 1 cup of the grated cheddar for garnish, which we've done already. Remember that? I'm going to stir in all that remaining cheddar. And I even tell you in that step, in case you didn't have a gram weight of your cheese, that it's 1 cup for the garnish and 2 cups approximately going in your soup. Okay, we're just stirring it in. We are now going to stir in our 1 teaspoon of sugar, and that just balances everything out, folks. Just a touch like that really does wonders. I'm going to shut off my burner. I'm going to dive a spoon in there, taste a little bit of this. Oh, wow, baby, that's good. Any cream soup will always benefit from some fresh cracked pepper. I need just a little splash of salt in there. So I'm just going to add a little bit more salt. All right, here we go. We've all been there when we were grabbing a ladle full of stew or soup, right? And it dribbles all over the side of the pot, all over the counter as you're trying to get to the bowl. Ah, making a big mess. Here's how to not do that. Grab a ladle full of soup. The trick is a couple of things. Number 1, don't have it overflowing, okay? We don't want this where it's overflowing ladle, okay? See that? No, no, no. Just, you can be right to the top of the ladle, okay, but just not overflowing. And see it dripping there at the bottom? This is where you're going to have a mess. So what I want you to do is take it, touch it to the soup, then bring it over and put it in the bowl. And you won't have any drippage. Can we say that? Drippage? I don't know what it's called. You won't have any drippage on the side of the pot, across the counter, or whatever, right? Let's show you again. So just full but not overflowing. Touch it to the soup, bring it over. And you'll never have that happen to you again. Awesome. And I'm giving you pearls here, folks. I really am. So with the cheese, our garnish, we have more of that lovely Balderson cheese. We're going to, this class is not sponsored by Balderson, by the way, just to put it on there, just to have an extra little bit of flavor. Plus, you want to create the visual, right? You can see the chunks of broccoli florets. You can see the cheese on top, and automatically, just by looking at it with your eyes, you know this is broccoli cheddar soup. You just know it, right? And then just give it a little splash of green with some parsley. Oh man, that looks good. Look at that. Awesome.
It is so good, Des.
All right.
This is a little dangerous.
Isn't it?
It tastes amazing. Okay.
It is really, really good.
This is beyond amazing, chef. Like,
awesome. Thank you.
I've always just gone to like Timmy's and gotten that's my soup I always get.
Yeah.
Never again.
Awesome. That's what I want to hear. All right. That's good. There you have it. Broccoli cheddar soup by the Chef Des Zoom classes. Oh, wow. This is going to be good. See you next time, folks.